Welcome back to the Comp Closet podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Sarah Moore, and today I am joined by a beautiful FMG pro, women's transformation coach, and posing coach, Tayla Kuru. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited and nervous at the same time.
I'm so excited. I feel like you've had a massive year, but let's start at the beginning of your journey. So, can you walk us through the early days of your fitness journey and what motivated you to start competing?
Yeah, for sure. So early days of my fitness journey, I would say goes all the way back to when I was around 18 and I was, super active as a kid. I was always in like national sports and competing and whatnot. And when I stopped doing that, I feel like I went through what I would now call just becoming a woman. But back then in my teenage brain, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting fat, I'm gaining weight, which was just, a normal part of life. But yeah, I joined the gym as I guess, a alternate thing to do. And I was very lost. It was like a time in life when fitness influencers were like just becoming a thing and like fitness detox teas were like what was talked about online. It was like, do this exercise to burn X amount of calories. So yeah, I was doing all of that and just going in the wrong direction. And it took me around like 2 years, I would say, before I started to research on my own and move in the right direction. And eventually I went into like my first build phase, which I would say is what kind of saved me because I was very much so doing like restrictive dieting. I would put so much pressure on myself to not go out of line. I was just so restrictive all the time. And yeah, that first build phase really saved me. And then I did my cert 3 and cert 4 and I became a personal trainer and started coaching women and eventually found my niche, which was helping women who were very much like myself in the early days and helping them to overcome that restrictive lifestyle and to have more balance. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing. And then, what motivated you to start competing after that initial stage of your fitness journey?
I would say I always wanted to compete back from when I was around 21, but I just wasn't in the right place to do it. I very much knew that I didn't have enough muscle mass. I also knew that my relationship with food was not in a good place, and I wanted to wait until I could jump on stage with full confidence that I was, ready to be judged, ready to be told, you're not good enough, and still be okay with that. I wanted to be, yeah, sure in myself and, cope with all the post comp things like body image. And I just wanted to be strong in myself. So I really waited until I felt like that was a point where I was at, and that was in around 2022. And then I just jumped straight on board with Rob. I had a call with him and jumped into another build phase, and yeah, brought me to my first show.
Incredible. I feel like that work before you start prep is so important, and a lot of competitors don't realize that there is a lot of work that you have to do before you start prep. So, like, specifically, what did you do to improve, your relationship with food and body image and all those things before starting a prep?
I definitely think it was something that just happened naturally over time, but definitely the build phases help. Like I said, I was doing a lot of restrictive things. Like I was doing a lot of, when I was younger, I used to get on the treadmill and run for like an hour. Don't know why I was doing that. Like I was a twig and run on the treadmill for an hour and then I'd get off and jump on the Stairmaster. And, if I, like I said, if I ever fell off track, I felt like I was guilty and I was doing the wrong thing. And when I did start doing build phases and taking my health seriously, meaning like I wanted to actually build muscle, yeah, just naturally over time, you become attuned to eating more food and seeing the benefits of it and, training with a structured program. That was something that I didn't do in the early days. So I was self-coached by myself pretty much up until I was with Rob. So it was very much a self-learning journey of, seeing trial and error, seeing what happens when you eat more food and train harder and have consistency. And naturally you just start to realize this is what I need to do and I need to keep doing this. And yeah, you just heal your relationship naturally over time, I would say.
Yeah,
And
100%.
coaching women, actually, and coaching women has definitely been something that's opened my eyes because I work with so many women. Seeing the challenges that they go through and reflecting on that's where I was and this is how you can overcome it. Even just talking through those things commonly with women, it helps me to reflect and to grow as a person as well.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with all of that. And how was the transition going from having no coach to signing up with Rob? Like, was it hard to start following a plan?
Yes and no. I'm a very structured person. I like having discipline in my life. We kind of like our relationship transformed over time. Very much at the start, he's a great coach, so he was like giving me all the assistance that I needed, and then he very soon realized like she's just going to do it. She's going to do it anyway. So our relationship now is a lot different, where he'll kind of be like, "This is what this is the outcome I want. This is the numbers. Like I love the numbers. I want the numbers to get there, and he will give me that, and then he'll kind of let me do my own thing with how to get there. But early on, it wasn't really a struggle. I would say it was just very much a learning period where I was kind of like, okay, I want to do what I'm told, which I think every person needs a coach. You need someone to give you guidance, to give you accountability, and to lift you up, especially on the days that you need it. But like I said, I'm very much someone that will get the work done anyway. So it's just kind of finding our balance together. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And then have you been with Rob ever since 2022 when you first started competing?
Yeah, yeah. And I have not gone like on pause or anything. I just stay on board with him, even off season. Like that's when I think the work is actually done. And I'm a big advocate for the build season is where you actually need to be prioritizing and treating it with respect as well. So I almost rely on him more in the build season. I'm like, you need to keep pushing me to eat more food, keep pushing me to level up because I know that when I come back down, I want to be better. And then in prep, it's just like, that's almost the simple part is, I'm a lean person, so I just come straight back down. But the build is very much so when I need him the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that I see in competitors that do kind of climb the ranks and improve every season is that they actually keep their coach for the reverse and in the
Right.
off season and the prep, and they stay with the same coach as well. Obviously, it has to be a right fit, but staying with the same coach, they get to know your body and you can, rely on them in all phases, and it just makes improvements so much quicker and easier, in my opinion.
100%, which I think you would know as well, because you've been very much through the same process. So that off season really does count.
Yeah, 100%. So, were there any challenges that you had to overcome as a new competitor, like thinking back to your first prep?
To my first prep, I wouldn't say there was any challenges. I almost feel like I had envisioned prep to be this like horrible process. I was prepared for the absolute worst. And when I went into it, it was very much so almost living my normal life. I was, training regularly, still pushing myself, doing steps, which was part of my normal daily life and tracking my food, which is something that I do quite regularly. So I wouldn't say the actual prep, but what I would say is I have like a lot of stage fright. A lot of stage fright. I'm legitimately scared to get on stage. So I think that overcoming that to step on stage for my first time, I had worked myself up like so much and I was practicing my posing obsessively. I was with Taylor Hicks at the time and she was like, you practice way too much. She was like, that's enough. But it did help. I need that. Like I need that practice to feel assured and be like, when I step on stage and that stage fright hits and my mind goes blank, my body's going to be moving. I'm going to be doing it like I've practiced 1,000 billion times anyway. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge to overcome.
Yes, I think stage fright and just nerves in general is such a big thing for new competitors and pros as well. Like, I think
Yeah,
everyone,
100%.
it's
It never
normal.
goes away. We're still scared.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who has stage?
One would be practice because the more you've practiced something, obviously, the more naturally it comes and you do start to build that confidence in yourself. But two, I don't want to say fake till you make it, but kind of like that. You want to get on stage and just kind of switch it on and remind yourself, I've just done this, X amount of weeks for prep. I'm not going to get up there and be shy and shy away from the limelight. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to show how hard I have worked and I just have to own that. And reminding yourself, look how good I look. Like I have absolutely smashed this prep and you want to show that you're proud of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And I think committing 100% to your prep as well and like knowing that you've
For
put
sure.
everything in that you can really helps with the nerves too, because you know that you're ready. And then
There's
it's
nothing
just,
else you could have done.
yeah, it's just practicing your posing and just getting up there and doing it.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
And is there anything you wish you did differently in your first few preps?
Not in the actual, like I said, in the prep itself, I feel like like, I'm not the type of person to leave something to chance. I would not mess up my prep. It's just not in me. But in terms of maybe like reflecting back, what like a time that could have been different, maybe like my first peak week, I feel like because I was under so much pressure and I was putting that stress on myself, I didn't enjoy my peak week. And, now when I come to peak week, I'm like, oh, it's like a big breath of fresh air. But in that first one, I was very much so just like caught up in my head. I was stressing about what if this happens? I was thinking, what if I fall off the stage? I was thinking of all the worst things possible. And yeah, I just did not like soak it up at all. And I know everyone kind of says that, you'll see captions on Instagram, soak it up. And I didn't really know what that meant. I was kind of reading it like, okay, I'm trying to soak it up, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be soaking up. I feel stressed. But now, kind of reflecting back, I know what it means. It's like, look at yourself and be like, wow, like I've done this, relax, like take that moment to just be proud of yourself because then you come out of prep and you go back to normal and it's gone. So you just want to kind of have that time to really appreciate what you've done for yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's finding a balance as well of like doing all the peak week things, but then also having enough time to like de-stress and have downtime because I definitely didn't have that downtime in my first peak week ever. I was like, I want to
Too
do
many photo
all the
shoots.
shoots, everything, like catch up with everyone, run around every day. So yeah, I think
That's
it's fun.
it. Yeah, 100%. You get so excited, especially, well, now I get so excited because now I have friends in the industries, depending on where the comp is at, I'm like, "Ah, I can't wait to see you and I want to catch up and you don't want to yap with them and you want to do coffee and a walk in the morning and then there's this posing workshop and then there's a photo shoot and your coach wants to do a check-in and you're just chaotic and you don't ever get to take that time to just sit and be like, this is so good. I can't believe we've made it. So definitely do that.
Yeah, I think it almost like scheduling in that time, that downtime is so important because that means you can fit in all the fun things and the catch ups and the shoots, but then also have that time to de stress. I think that's really important. And I really liked that last Gold Coast show actually, how the media night was on the Thursday night and then we had the Friday to kind of de stress.
The best thing ever. I loved that because normally you're kind of at retro night and even for me it's like it's all about eating and I'm sure it's for you as well, eating the night before you need to like eat a lot and if you're at retro night you're sitting there like I'm missing meals and you start getting a little bit panicked, so having that on the Thursday and then having that full Friday to just really like get into the right mind space and make sure everything is the way you want it to be, it just felt so, yeah, it felt so peaceful. It was really, really nice. I hope they do that again.
Yeah, me too. Loved it. So let's go through your competing journey or competing history. So you said you competed for the first time in 2022. Can you walk me through like what shows you've done and how you improved between each show to go pro?
Yeah. First show was in April 2022 and that was my first comp. I came second in that comp. And my feedback was essentially it was really good feedback. It was like it was a tough lineup, please come back again, like so much potential. So I was like, okay. And we were kind of waiting on that feedback to see if I would, do the July show. And when that came back, Rob was like, we have to do it. Like, let's do it. And I was like, okay. The one kind of piece of advice they gave me was that I was super lean. And so I thought that Rob would want me to come in less lean. And this was when I kind of started to learn about filling up. I actually had no idea about like filling up before this. I was just kind of doing what I was told, following the numbers. And something that Rob and I have come to learn together is how much food it actually takes to for me to fill up. And obviously my first comp we didn't have any background information, so we were just doing, seeing how it goes. And I just was burning through the most food so quickly that we didn't fill me up enough. And so he kind of said to me, we don't need to actually back off your condition. We just want to fill up more. So that was the improvements that we made, was that I just kept eating leading into peak week. And then I went pro in my second show, which was the backed up show in July. Which was honestly one of the best days ever. As you would know, it's just the best feeling ever. You've worked so hard and there's been so much anticipation. So to tick that off, it's just like, it's the best feeling ever. Yeah, that was when I went pro. And then I've done two shows again since then, which was Gold Coast recently and then Bali. I backed it up as well. So I've really just done two shows backed up and then another two shows backed up.
Yeah, incredible. So, do you mind just going back to like filling up? Do you mind just explaining what that is for anyone who hasn't competed and doesn't really understand what that means?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, when you're competing, the journey to stage is depletion. You are trying to deplete your body. And once you kind of reach that stage, you look really flat, your muscles are empty, and you don't look your best. You almost feel like you've gone backwards. And in peak week, the goal there is to fill up the muscles again. So we eat a lot of carbs, basically. Like I said, I just wasn't, I was burning through all of that way too quickly, wasn't filling up enough. My muscles were still empty. So the improvements that we made were consuming higher volumes of food, more carbs, so that the muscles did fill out more, which gives you that more, it's a less sharp look, it's a more full look, and it's what they want for the bikini category. For most categories, they want you to be full as well, obviously, but less sharp. It helped me to not look so defined. It filled everything out better.
Yeah, perfect.
I hope
Lovely.
that helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you have any fears of like eating all that food in peak week?
No, never. Like I think in the second show, the first peak week, like I was just doing what I was told. Second one, I actually just was doing what I wanted to do. Not obviously he kind of gave me things to follow. He gave me the numbers to follow, but he was like, just keep me updated on what you're doing because, and we were doing photos as well. And I just kind of kept eating. I was just like, no, nothing's happening. And I would kind of eat, go and self-assess in the mirror a couple hours later, and then I'd be like, I'm gonna eat again. So it was very much so just keep going until I have this, well, most of us have this sense of when we're kind of like, okay, I can start to feel the fullness now. So I kept going until I got to that point, and then I was like, okay, we're good now, we'll hold here. So yeah, I wasn't really afraid of doing that. I was very much so like, can I have more? Because I just felt like I wasn't, I didn't want to come back and be the same. And I wanted to have done what they asked of me. My biggest fear was like coming back and even, not placing, coming second and then coming back and going backwards from there because I didn't listen to what they told me. So I wanted to make sure that I was definitely different.
Yes, amazing. And then how was it jumping on the pro stage compared to competing as an amateur? Did you have any self-doubt or anything like that?
I'll be honest, I actually did. I had a lot of anxiety going into the pro show, and it wasn't about the actual show, or it wasn't about stepping on stage, or it wasn't about the show itself. It was very much so because I kind of knew that I was going to land between the athletic category and the bikini. I knew that the level of condition I was at was beyond what they were probably going to want for bikini. And, I did a short prep. It wasn't something that we just overdid or like pushed too hard or something. It's just kind of what happened. And yeah, I kind of had a lot of anxiety knowing that I was just going to be getting up there almost for the sake of it and not likely going to hit the mark in either category. So it was definitely a different experience, but I still had, the best time up there. And like I said, like I get so excited just to compete and see all the girls and be backstage with everyone. So I was still very much excited, to go through the process of it.
Yeah, so you competed in both bikini athletic and bikini in Gold Coast. And then
Yes.
what changes or improvements did you make for the Bali show and what categories did you compete in?
Okay, so after Gold Coast, the feedback was that they actually did really like me in the bikini line, but that my condition was athletic. So essentially, what I kind of felt going into that show, and so we had to pull back a lot to try and knock me all the way back to bikini. So we just brought my calories all the way up, which is such a it's very much so like my original back to back shows. It's so hard going backwards for a period of time and seeing yourself almost like you feel like you've done half the job. You're seeing lines disappear, you're seeing yourself less lean, and you feel like, yeah, you just feel like you're not giving your best. I was training 4 times a week and it was just predominantly glutes. We knocked upper body completely off. No upper body at all, just to really try and soften out my ass because of the vascularity. And yeah, we just carried that pretty much all the way through. We also did something different, which was we had no peak week, which was something that I personally asked to do. I usually find that when I'm coming quite close to stage, I'm ready every single day. Like I wake up, I'm ready, I wake up, I'm ready. And it's that depletion that always pushes me too far into that leanness. So I kind of asked Rob, what do you think about, and he was on the same page. He was like, I was going to say the same thing to you. What do you think about not having a peak? We'll just kind of hold you on these high calories and then we'll just be ready. And I was like, I love that idea. It also works well for posing. If I deplete and then I have to fill up, it means that you're working with a full stomach. Like you've got so much food inside of you, which I don't like. No one likes the feeling of that. So I much preferred the idea of just kind of holding and just being ready. And yeah, so came into Bali comp to just do bikini category, which I did end up coming third in, which was super nice. Like it was super exciting because I got knocked completely back in the Australian show. It was just like I was nowhere near the mark. So to move up from there, I was super happy with that.
Yes, congrats on third. That is absolutely incredible. And the lineup
Thank
was
you.
insane as well. So that's like no small achievement.
Oh my gosh, it was the most incredible lineup. Every single girl, I was like, wow, like everyone looked amazing.
Yeah, incredible. And what was your experience traveling to compete overseas? I know you had a bit of a mishap before you left.
Let this be a lesson. Do not do what I do. Do you know what's funny? I didn't even think of that when you said that just then. But so my mistake, and I guess my piece of advice to everyone is check your passport early on. I think back, I was initially meant to do the Bali comp, and when I did check my passport back earlier at the start of the year, I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't expire till next year. That was just in my head that I knew it wasn't, it was relevant. And then ended up changing to the Gold Coast comp, got swept up in that, and then just started prepping for Bali. And then it was 3 days out from when I was meant to fly out, and I was like reading something about like I don't know about the terms and conditions of entry to Bali. I don't know. And I just happened to pass on the information that said your passport has to be, 6 months valid. And I was like, when is mine? And I had a quick look and it was 5 months. And under no circumstances can you get in with 5 months. So I had to do the whole panic, get an emergency passport in the next 24 hours so that I could fly out. And that was the most stressful event, it actually caused me a lot of water retention. That like level of stress that I was under caused me to have so many stomach issues at the start of Bali week. The Bali peak week was actually my most stressful peak week ever because I couldn't. We were really trying to get my stomach under control. I was trying to like relax and just everything's fine now. Even once I got to Bali, I was like, just breathe. And anyway, we eventually got there and calmed everything down just in time. But yeah, that would be my biggest piece of advice is just check your passport. Make sure it's not going to expire.
So stressful. Other than that, how was the experience? And like, do you have any tips for someone who is competing overseas?
The experience was amazing. I'll honestly say, hands down, Bali was my favorite comp ever. I love Bali as a place. It was more like even just the comp. That was probably my favorite part. The backstage vibes were the best I've ever had. I think because we were so confined in our space backstage, it just meant that we weren't separated. We weren't off in our own zones. I was speaking to competitors that I've never spoken to before. I was sitting with girls that you know, women that I've never met before. And, everyone was kind of helping each other, not just your team, but just everyone and just chatting and even just the vibes on stage. We were all just like in such good spirits. I think it was a lot less stress than any of the other shows that I've been to. So the experience was amazing. Bali itself turned out to be the the worst, I'll say. Just because the time of year it just rained every day. It wasn't, Bali's an amazing place, but it did rain every day and everyone was sick. So,
Did you avoid getting sick? Okay, so
sorry.
did you avoid getting Bali belly?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I know one other competitor that didn't get sick, but everyone else had Bali belly and it was after Atlas, I think it's the drinks, had the cocktails and then everyone got sick. So yeah, I didn't get sick and I was very grateful for that because I have PTSD about any type of like stomach things.
Mm.
So yeah, I think if you're thinking of traveling and competing overseas, the one thing that I would think about is your preparation. Yes, your passport, but also other things like, where you're going to get your hair and makeup done if you're not using FMG, making sure that you take everything with you so that you're prepared. If you're competing in Australia, everything's essentially mostly the same. When you go to Gold Coast, whatever you kind of have, they have it there too. But moving to other places overseas, you have to, be prepared that they're not going to have everything that you need. So you need to be organized. So that's probably my biggest thing.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Just do all the research on all the things like the foods, the gyms, like where
Yeah.
everything is in accordance to your accommodation. Be careful with where you book your accommodation. I think that's
Mm.
a massive one as well because you do have to travel quite a bit for like tan and media night and the actual show day there and back for two shows. So I think that's a really important one as well.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, you don't want to be even like a half an hour drive away. You don't want to be that. You want to be nice and easy, 10 minutes back and even closer if you can be in walking distance. It just saves you so much time and even stress in peak week because you don't have that time. You need to be able to zip around everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Post show, how many weeks post show are you now? Wow. And how are you managing that with the festive season?
I'm doing good now, but when we're in Bali, it's Bali. There's so many nice cafes. There's so much food. You've got cookies at like the touch of a button, and I'm the biggest advocate for cookies. So that was a rough time for me. I was just eating so much, and I knew that I was only going to be in Bali for a few days. I stayed from Compass on Saturday, I stayed till the following Wednesday. So I was like, we need to make the most of this. I need to eat as much food as possible every single day. And I kind of knew it's fine. Like, most of us do that. We have a little bit of a break and then we get back into our reverse diet. So I was like, I'll start when I get back. But then when I got back, I was immediately hit with getting sick. So this has been the roughest reverse, not because physically I'm doing okay, but mentally it's so hard when you've just put your body through, I've been in prep since June or July or something like that. And, you've spent all this time on yourself, working so hard, being in this vigorous routine, and then coming back and not being able to do anything. It mentally does make you feel a bit depressed, to be honest. I'm feeling better now. I'm very excited just for this week. I know it's Christmas week, but for me, it's very much like that's one day to me. I'm excited to, have compliance on the other days, enjoy still with my family on Christmas Day, but yeah, and then just kind of get back to some routine.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Like, it's so hard when you're reversing and you can't train because I was the same. Like, I landed the day after I landed, I got sick and then I had surgery. So, I think like when you're
Yeah,
reversing and you're increasing food, but you're also increasing your strength and energy and all those things in the gym, like it feels a lot better. But
it feels good then. Yeah.
it's so hard. So, mentally, is there anything that kind of helped you while you couldn't train, or like any tips to get better quicker while you're sick?
For getting better quicker while you're sick, my first thing is just rest. And it's something that I was talking about on my stories the other day. And even I've been having this conversation a fair bit this year with clients because I feel like there has been a lot of sickness even just towards the end of this year. A lot of my clients, I talk to them about how I used to be when I was younger. And, I used to think that if I skipped a day, progress was gone. Everything goes backwards. I felt so guilty for taking time off. I would get really, really down in myself, and not mentally because I couldn't do stuff, but because I thought that I was ruining myself. I thought that everything was going badly now. And so I just kind of remind them, having a week off and resting is going to get you back to the gym and to your regular routine as quick as possible. The more you try and push through it, it just prolongs it. You end up thinking you're better and then sick again, and thinking you're better and sick again, and you just start going through that vicious cycle. It's the best thing you can do is give your body the rest that it needs. So when I'm going through that, I always just try and reflect on what I would say to them, and I'm like, you need to rest. Focus on other things that you can do. Did a big clean out, got my bikinis, all of my bikinis cleaned and my dresses and gowns to pop on the comp closet. I was like, I need to, just get everything in my life kind of organized. So do other things, in your house. Don't leave the
Yeah,
house.
absolutely. Funnily enough, I actually did the same thing, like did a massive clean out of like all my clothes and bikinis and photo shoot outfits and stuff, and got those listed while I was sick and couldn't train. So
It's
I
the
think,
best thing you can do.
yeah, distraction's a really good thing, I think, to get your
Makes you
mind
feel productive, makes you feel like you've got some purpose in life.
off. Absolutely. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to get back on track after the holidays? Like, say they just went completely AWOL, ate all the food for a few days. What are your tips to get back on track?
I'm going to start with saying start small, meaning don't try and jump back into 5 days. Don't set like unrealistic expectations on yourself. I think when, whatever we've been doing before, we think that we immediately have to be back to that in order to be, successful again. And the one thing that you can do for yourself is just start with small habits of being like, okay, we normally go 5 times, let's make it a goal to get there 3 times. Or, even let's just make it a priority to get up and go for a big walk in the morning. Or, little things like start your day with having 500 ml of water, or, getting back into having a high protein breakfast. Just little habits that start to help you build momentum. You don't have to be perfect ever, but you don't have to be perfect immediately, especially then. You can just start with little bouts of progression, and it will come. You'll naturally start to feel the benefits of those things and be like, I want to do more and I want to, build myself back up again. So start small and then work from there. And go easy on yourself as well, because especially when you've been off track, if you've been not tracking your food and just having whatever you kind of want and potentially overeating, it can be hard to switch back into, okay, 100% compliance, tracking my food each day, or, making good decisions with food. You might have a day where you kind of fall off again, and you just kind of have to see each day as a fresh opportunity to restart and not give up on that. You just have to keep going, and eventually it's going to click.
Yeah, I love that advice. And do you have any goals for the upcoming season?
Yes, I do, but we're still in kind of chit chat about it. Definitely going off into the off season, going into a build phase. I'll kind of just finish this year up. Like I said, I've only just gotten better, so it'll just be getting back into those little things that I can and building that momentum. And then as soon as kind of New Year's is done, I'll be immediately into build and pushing my calories back up again, because I definitely want to push for growth. It is likely that I will be pushing for the athletic category now. I do think, as much as it might be possible to try and fit into bikini, it's not what I would want to do really as a person. I don't want to hold myself back and try and, stunt myself to fit in. I would rather try and push to my advantage. And, it does mean that I need more time. I need to grow, but that's what I'm about. I definitely want to push for that. Yeah, big off season for me.
Yes, and especially, as like taller girls, both of us are quite tall for a
Yeah.
girl. It takes time to build, like it takes so long. And when you counter in the reverse diet and, kind of like getting into the actual proper build phase, you
Yeah.
actually like cut out a lot of time from
This
your year.
100%. I think back to like my last build and I'm like, how long was it actually? I feel like it was maybe like March, June, July, August. It was, yeah, I don't even know. It wasn't that long. It was like 5 months or something, I think, like of actual building. But
Mm.
then there was a lot of time there where it was just like getting out of prep and then getting into the reverse and then getting into starting to build and then like being in the build. So it's a lengthy process. So I definitely want to just get back into that as soon as possible and start pushing again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see your progress and what you do next.
Likewise, I'm very excited for you.
Thank you. Struggles. So we do have some questions from the question box on Instagram.
Oh, yes.
Most of them were actually related to posing because your posing is incredible. So what are your top
Love that. Top three. Sorry, what was that?
three posing tips?
Top three posing tips. Okay, let me think. Oh, that's hard because I feel like there's so many things that I would want to say to people, like to focus on. There's so much you can focus on. Top three. Okay, number one, I'd have to say is practice like your life depends on it, because that is like my motto when it's, comes to posing, is you you want to feel like when you get up there, no matter how nervous you are, your body is going to move on its own. And it really does. I've walked out and my head is blank, and your body just starts doing whatever you've practiced. So practice like your life depends on it. And when I say that, I don't mean just, refinement as in like going through your poses. I mean, practice like it's the moment. This is the moment when I'm going to walk out. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is the facials that I'm going to have. I think this will be my second tip. And this is kind of like a little what do you call it? Like a little secret, we'll say. So something that I do with my clients is I get them to do what I call an energy session. And an energy session is not about, the perfection of a pose or the way that it looks. It's actually about your stage presence and, the aura that you're giving off when you walk out. I'll always say to them, you need to walk out like you were the baddest bee in the club. Which cracks me up. But what it kind of means is you need to walk out on that stage like you own the place, and, make everyone look at you. You need to, practice that. So an energy session is when you do your makeup and your hair and you make yourself feel pretty. You put on your favorite music. It doesn't have to match the posing vibe, but you just put on something that makes you feel hype. And then you look at yourself in the mirror, and it's almost like dancing, but you're doing your poses, but you're just kind of like feeling yourself a bit and going through the motions of trying to feel that excitement or that wow about yourself. And the more you can kind of do that, it does build self-confidence, funnily enough. So when you do walk out on stage, you can perform it like that moment when you're practicing in your living room. And third tip, sorry, is posing tips or stage tips?
Posing tips.
Posing tips. It's going to have to be something about the glutes. Maybe like the glutes being up. You want to make sure that your glutes are up all the time. I think, someone can have amazing glutes and they'll do that in their poses, but what will let them down is maybe when they're transitioning from like front to side, or even just like doing a spin to the back, they'll kind of just relax it a bit, or even you'll see their like hips turn under. You just want to make sure that, you're always keeping the hips up and the glutes up, because, in every single category, glutes matter, and you don't want to let them down. You don't want to have them not in the limelight. You want to make them the best they possibly can be all the time. Yeah,
Yes, I love those tips. Super important. And I love energy sessions. That is such a good idea. And I think like
best
the
thing
time,
ever.
yeah, the time of day that you pose and like the lighting that you pose in, all those things can make a massive difference. Like if you pose at night after a full day of eating and it's
Oh,
kind of like
yeah,
shitty lighting, you're going to feel so much less confident in yourself than if you pose maybe like in the morning before you have a full day of food and like the lighting's a bit better.
love
Maybe you've got
that.
a layer of tan on. Yeah.
100%, 100%. Timing of day is so important, and I think like sometimes you can't avoid. Sometimes you've only got that the end of the day when you can get it done. But if you can get it done earlier on, it's nice to, obviously, when you've got a bit more energy or after a little bit of caffeine, does definitely help.
Yes, caffeine definitely helps. I used to like on a Saturday and Sunday, those would be my days that I'd like pose with good lighting, like get all the vibes going, and then
The
during the week
best.
just get it done when I can. So I think it's important to
It's
have
like
a bit of a mixture.
100%.
Someone said your stage presence is fire. Tips to improve this.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, and you know what? Like coming off the back end of me just talking about a stage fright and things like that, and then for someone to say to you, your stage presence is great. I think that's why I always get so overwhelmed when someone says my posing is great now. It's because I know how I feel internally, and I think that's what you have to acknowledge, is that, for when you see someone else on stage and they're doing really well and they look like they're super confident and their presence is great, that's not necessarily how they feel. And same thing for yourself. When you're up there, you might not feel super confident, but you have to be able to admit that. You have to kind of switch it on and, like I said, be like, this is everything that I've worked for, and, go up there and show it off. And it's not, you're up there to show the judges your physique, but you're also up there to show them how confident you are in your physique. You can have the best physique, and if you just walk up there and you look scared and you're stiff, it doesn't highlight that. So you want to make sure that you're up there portraying the most confident version of yourself, even if you feel scared on the inside. And like I said, energy sessions, they really do help to help you practice getting in that feeling with the stage presence.
Yeah, I love that. And how do you navigate a relationship while one or both of you is in prep?
Oh, I think that, this was my first prep having a partner. And I think this would be obviously Jay's first prep having a partner. So it's definitely a learning experience. You're navigating and you're learning as you go about what the other person needs from you. If when I was just in prep, it was for him learning that I'm going to need my own time, I'm going to need my own space, I'm going to be quiet at times, I'm going to be busy at times. And then for me it was learning about trying to be present still, and acknowledge that you still have a partner, you still have a commitment there, you need to make them feel like they're still a part of your life. You can't just disappear off the face of the planet. So I think it's having a bit of understanding on both ends, that from me, being able to have compassion, be like, you need to be present in the other person's life still while still working on yourself. And then for the other person, it's making sure that you still have understanding that they are going to be in this period of time for just a short period of time, and you just want to lift them up and support them and try and be there where you can. When you're both in prep, it actually worked really well for us, because then we were both really busy and we still made time for each other. We still ate our prep food together and went for walks and stuff, but then we would go about our days and just do what we needed to do. So I think for different couples it might be different. It depends on what someone needs in prep, what level of support they need, whether they want to just solo kind of smash through it, or if they need someone there like constantly each day kind of reflecting with them and boosting them up. So it's just understanding your partner and what you can do to be there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think presence can be quite hard, especially towards the end of the prep, because you're so like you've got so much tunnel vision and you're just focused on ticking those boxes and you're busy getting done what you need to do. It's still super important to, make time to be present with each other as well. So I think again, like
100%.
schedule time in, like everything just comes down to scheduling. If you're that busy and it's important
Agreed. Quality
to you,
time.
yeah, schedule it in.
Yeah, I like that. I'll take that as a tip.
Yeah.
I'll send this to Jay.
Love that. And last question is from Rob. He said, ask her how many upper body days we had to do in her last prep.
Oh, I touched on that just before. So we did 0 upper body days in the lead up to the Bali show. We were just like, it was funny because he initially scheduled, I think it was like one back exercise for me and one shoulder exercise for me. So it was like glutes, 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 and then it was like glutes with like a few upper body exercises. I went into the gym the first week to do it, and I just kind of looked at myself and I was like, no way. So I was like, I cannot. We were trying to get them to go down, and the problem is like, most bikini girls, they do get lean through the upper body first. It's just the way it is. But for me, it just gets so, so lean, and the veins start coming, and it gets really vascular. And obviously, if you pump that muscle the tiniest bit, it starts looking really jacked. Yeah, I was just like, I can't do one or two. I just need to do none. And I said to him, you know what? We'll just do none. And then if it gets to a point where I feel like it starts lacking, then we can always pick it back up and it will come back to life immediately. But I was like, it's not going. It's still there. And even like, I think it was Rego night at Bali, because it's really hot. You obviously start getting really vascular. And I was standing there and Rob's like, oh no. It's just like, but
Going back.
it's coming back. Yeah. So anyway, so no upper body, but now we will be doing upper body. We're pushing back into that, which I'm really happy about, because I do love a good shoulder session. It's one of my favorites.
Yes, training shoulders is so good. And
The
how was
best.
how was your recovery just like hitting glutes every day?
It was actually really good. I was surprised. I think glutes are the one muscle group that can take quite a fair bit of volume. It was split well. Like I think it was like a Monday was like a quad and glute. Tuesday was like predominantly hamstring with a little touch of glutes. And then I would wait till either like Thursday or Friday, depending on recovery. And I would do, I think it was like full lower body. And then it was like glutes only on the last day, which was meant to be glutes and upper, but I would just do the glutes. And yeah, it was fine. Like I feel like my glutes have come a long way and they have definitely gotten so much stronger, and I really do enjoy training them. So yeah, I was excited to do it. And seeing the progression as well, it makes you so motivated to train them. You're like, oh, I want more. So it was really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like your progress photos of your glutes is absolutely crazy. So
Thank you.
Where can listeners find you online to follow your journey and also inquire potentially about coaching or women's transformation coaching?
So I have two accounts. I have my personal, which is at Tayla Kuru, but I also have at Tone by Tay, which I do try and share a little bit on my personal about, my fitness coaching. But if you are interested in what I do as a coach and, seeing my clients' progression and I guess finding out a little bit more about what I actually do as a career, you can find me at Tone by Tay.
Amazing. I'll link those down below as well so people can find you. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been
No,
amazing.
thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It was honestly great. Love yapping away.
And thank you so much to our listeners as well. If you enjoyed this episode or took a good tip out of it, then please share to your stories and tag Tay and myself and the Comp Closet because it helps us get out to more people and grow and get more incredible guests on like Tay. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.